Once again, it's Wednesday, and it's time for the question of the week. This one is from David Wells. And David asked, one of the things me and my friends are always talking about is what we call prep pressure. How many times can we go to a set and work on it, trying to make that spot better over the course of the summer? Sometimes I'm thinking we put too much prep pressure in our hunting spots. What is the method to the madness at Drury Outdoors? Is there a best time of the day to check a trail cam, work on a site? How much will agricultural food play in that part? Hunting a small farm in northeast Indiana with a quarter-acre food plot. Any info would be helpful. Thank you for your DVDs, et cetera, et cetera. I think, David, in answer to that question, anytime you enter your spot, you're hurting your own odds of taking an animal. But let me say this. If you don't do the proper preparation ahead of the season, you're going to be so sorry when that big 180 class buck walks past you, and I hope that happens, and you don't have a shooting lane in the right place. So I try to do it this time of the year. I go into all of my key spots. I make sure that those stands are secure, or if I'm pulling them down and moving them, I take them out. But if I'm going to leave a stand in a particular tree, I'll actually unhang it, rehang it, put all the belts on. I try to triple belt everything. They're in the belt that's on the stand, an extra safety belt around the top, and then I'll put 1 or 2 ratchets on there to make sure it's rock solid on that tree. I do all the trimming that's necessary right now, and I do that in and around the same time we do our shed hunt. I try to minimize intrusion because I think you can do too much prep and too many times you visit that spot. Those whitetails are there 365 days of the year. We are part-time hunters hunting full-time deer. So the more that you go in there, the more that they learn about your game, even though you're trying to learn about their game. If I do go into a spot, I try to minimize how often I go, but I try to do it middle part of the day. Especially if it's summer and you're forced to go in and work on a food plot or hang a stand because you didn't have time to do it right now. Then I go in middle part of the day. Regardless of how hot it is, I think those deer are generally bedded. They'll allow you passage in a truck or a tractor. I often take those to go in, and they don't seem to jump up. If you've ever noticed during the middle of the summer, you seldom jump a deer because the cover is so tight. More often than not, they're going to let you go right by. So I think those days are much less intrusive than if you're forced to do it, say, during the middle of the season. But the main thing you want to do is you don't want to skip anything because of lack of pressure. You got to make sure those stands are in tight. You got to make sure that they're safe. You got to make sure your method of ascension, whether that's with a climber or whether that's with a hang-on stand or getting your ground blind tied in, make sure all that stuff is set and in place so that above and beyond anything else, you have a safe time of field. So I minimize it in answer to your question. I try to do it as little as possible because the first time in is always the best when it comes time to that key time of the year. Good luck out there, David, and thank you for the question.